questioning things, conspiracies for sure, questioning things. I've seen some really interesting UAP phenomenons in the sky. I've talked about it, and I know that's something that you are fascinated by. Um, at the time, I also found a way to see the Zapruder film, which is very fascinating as well, even though it's super grainy. And that kind of got me into questioning things. And then there's been a lot of really interesting things that have happened over the years. My grandfather, though, I didn't get to know him that well, but I do know that he always questioned and believed that Roosevelt knew about the Japanese coming, and that always stuck with him because uh, he was super patriotic. And another one of my heroes, Pat Tillman, who left the NFL to join the Army. Um, his death is very suspicious as well, in that, not the fact we know that he was killed by friendly fire, but the way they handled his body afterwards, his uniform, confiscating his last journal, using his death to prop up the war propaganda. There's been a lot of great people in history who are super patriotic who've questioned their government, and I think that's what I've done since I was a
wasn't,
kid.
and pardon my ignorance, I didn't even know that about Tillman's journal. So that was confiscated by the.
His uniform was burned, and his journal was confiscated. That's in John Krakauer's book, Where Men Win Glory, which is a fantastic book. And one of my best friends in the entire world, AJ Hawk, AJ grew his hair out, him and his buddy, um, in 2004, as an ode to Pat. Because Pat always had long hair, played for the Cardinals, left a multi-million-dollar contract to go, fight, Al Qaeda and Taliban. Gets over there and is like, "What the fuck am I doing? I'm guarding these poppy fields. This is not what I signed up for. I miss my wife. I miss being in the States. This is not what I thought we were going to be doing over here." And then some really negligent maneuvers happened and split up his unit, and he ended up being with one of the members of the Afghani army who was their kind of guide. And a guy saw the guy in some dim lighting on the ridge who was with Pat. They fired on him, obviously Pat, and the Afghani thought that they were getting fired on by Taliban, so fired back, and ended up Pat got killed. His brother was not told right away that it was friendly fire. They like that. It's all in the book. It's a fascinating book. It's one of the only books I've ever cried reading, just because it's so. John's an incredible writer. He wrote Into Thin Air. He wrote Wild. He wrote Under the Banner of Heaven.
I read those three. I never
those
read the Tillman book.
Yeah, the Tillman book is incredible. But I don't know why I'm bringing this up. Just that there's so many people that really love this country that have gotten disenfranchised. I think that's part of it.
They've been betrayed by their leaders.
Yeah.
I mean, for your grandfather, who you said lost friends at Pearl Harbor,
yeah,
and was shot down over Europe and held as a POW by
and he, recently there's a gentleman writing a book about me, and he's writing a chapter on him, and he went and found the war crime committee that actually interviewed him after he came back because he was mistreated over there. There was one of his. One of the guys, there was a group of I think there were 10 people on his bomber. One of the guys ruptured his spleen on the way down, and they mistreated him, made him march like 20 miles in the freezing cold, didn't get him any medical treatment. So there was like a war crimes commission that was doing interviews, so he was interviewed about that, and it talked about kind of how he was treated, the how they put worms in his food and didn't give him water for certain times. And just the bad conditions there, and that's all he went through. He went through all that because he really cared about his country. And I think even up until his death, there was for sure some bitterness, I would guess, around what was I actually doing and why was I doing it and who had to die. My friends at Pearl Harbor, for this country that I fucking love, that I almost died for.
That's right.
And I think those are the great people that have made this country what it is, and we're. Now to even question the government, you're some like right-wing conspiracy crazy tinfoil hat wearer, which is wild because it seems like the left has gone so far left, and anybody right of that, there's no center anymore. That's according to the left. You're a right-winger unless you're so far on the left. The left used to be a party of Occupy Wall Street and free speech and rights for everybody. Now they're the ones beating the drums on the war machine. and censorship and obedience.
They're not criticizing Wall Street too much, I notice.
Yeah.
There was a fascinating study, a very revealing study, that showed that at the height of Occupy Wall Street, the New York Times torqued up its coverage of racism. So the word racist, racism, white supremacy went up hundreds of percent in the New York Times. You can check all this on their database. During Occupy Wall Street, it was almost like somebody decided it would be better to be at war with each other than to be asking questions about our financial system.
My husband and I are going through IVF treatments now, but Donald Trump's plan could ban IVF in some states. My husband is in the military. What if we end up in a state where IVF is no longer legal? What will we do then?
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Eve Online on Mac immerses you in a universe with...
It's not surprising.
No,
That's
it's
what
not.
they do. That they distraction. The true disinformation comes from actually those publications now.
How have they treated you?
A lot of character assassinations.
I've noticed.
When I tested positive for COVID, my whole world changed, and people I thought were allies in the media just turned on me. They spammed my sponsors, to the tune of one of my sponsors who's having a hard time keeping me. Said they got spammed with 140 million impressions across all social media to get rid of me because of my choice about what I want to put in my body. They didn't, to their credit. They stuck with me for one more year.
How's it going?
One of the sponsors dropped
I'm good, just chilling.
me within a couple days, which is fine. But yeah, when it came out, whether it was somebody from the campaign or not, released that I was a finalist to be Bobby's vice president, there was a total character assassination. It was some bizarre story from 12 years ago that somebody thought they heard something, that I was questioning something. And what it all comes down to, I think,
That was CNN that did that.
yeah, of course, is I'm not beholden. I have a contract, but I don't, I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm dangerous to them.
Dangerous. Hmm? Yeah, okay. Oh, shoot. Killy. Trucks. Skirt.
Because I speak my mind. I'm not, cliche-ridden, obedient.
Oh, no. Are my comments all the way on all messages? Oh, you have a sore throat? Damn, that's not good. Everyone's getting sick, I swear, except me.
Star.
'Cause I have vodka.
I speak my mind. I'm a loose cannon to them.
But why? I mean, wouldn't it just be easier to collect the accolades and collect the money and just not say what you think in public? Keep it for dinner parties, like.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have done that over the years. There's been a lot of great stars who've done that, and I respect that. I think I love this country, and
I was out of this for a while. I got this. Double.
believe in this country. I believe in people too much to just be quiet about things that seem so obvious to me. And corruption in any form is should be exposed. And the evils in this world that are out there. And there's good and there's evil. And the powers that be that don't want the light to shine, the good to exist, really push things that aren't in the best interest of anybody. And I just got tired of dealing with it. I also, got to a point that Rogan got to, I think, and many other people, where I made my money. I have a platform. I've had success in my business. What's the worst that you could do to me? Like,
True.
you could kill me. Yeah. At least I'm not dying on my knees.
Kill me.
And I'm
You could
stand
kill
up for what
me.
I believe in.
Kill me, soldier.
Whether you agree with me or not, whether you agree with the way I went about it, that's your own opinion. That's fine. But I feel good about the way that I've stood up for myself. And like Bobby said, there's a lot worse things than dying. And like, I would be dying a little bit every single day if I didn't say some of the stuff that's on my mind. Now, I do want to like not be a part of the war against the people that try to cancel us. I would rather be a part of bringing people back into the fold and actually building bridges with some of those people. Now, there's the evil that exists that I don't care to engage with those people, and they know who they are.
I know who you
most people that have attacked me, that are beholden to big pharma or money or whatever it might be. But I think if there's a chance for this country to keep going and to exist and to not be like the Roman Empire and fall from within, and I don't know if that's even possible, honestly, but I think it's got to start with love and compassion and empathy. And I'd like to be a part of that conversation, if possible.
I so strongly agree with that. And clearly, COVID was used, like race questions have been used, like the trans stuff is being used to divide people and to make them hate each other.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to make that worse at all. And I agree with you. I love the country, and not only do I love it, I'm stuck here. I'm born here, I will die here, so it's my country. That's how I feel. So I don't want it to get worse. But I do have unanswered in my mind, like, what?
I haven't started yet. I start the end of this month.
What was that? I mean, you described, I think, the motives of the people that you know or I know. They were afraid. They're just instinctively deferential to power. Okay, that's fine. That's all human nature. But, like, big picture, that's so crazy what just happened.
They have this game plan where it's like, we're a name call, anti-vaxxer, anti-Semite, bigot, racist, whatever it might be. We're going to censor you, then we're going to try and cancel you, then we're going to go after the people that you love and care about. And that's kind of how they do it.
Squid Game.
If they call it a vaccine, then all these people who are hesitant to not get canceled, not be shamed by being called an anti-vaxxer, are going to get in line to take it.
But big picture, do you have any guess as to, like, what is the program here? Like, what is the point of this?
I think those are some of the evils that we're up against.
Are you noticing all around, just in your life, are you noticing people begin to make reference to spiritual forces in a way they didn't say 5 years ago? Is this my imagination?
No, I don't think so. I think that more people are kind of waking up to that. I think people that watched, and there's probably, 10, 15, 20 million at least that saw your interview on Rogan and saw you talk about the supernatural component of UAPs. I think that is a good part of the conversation for people to reference. I grew up in the church, and in the church, that there's a battle that's going on between the seen and the unseen world, between good and evil, between the powers that we can see and the powers that we can't see. And there's some wild things out there that we don't know about, and there's some government secrets we don't know about. At a bare minimum, whether you believe in alien life, UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call it, there's some technology out there that exists that's finally have some sort of disclosure that the government or the powers that be don't think we're ready to be given that information.
I'm ready for it.
Which is kind of wild. And I understand that, I don't understand it. The thought process is it's going to, change the way that we look at life or religion or whatever. That gets into
Give me the technology
about religion being as a way to control people, control thought.
I will use it.
Which is pretty wild. But disclosure, I think, needs to happen. It's going to be interesting to see how it happens, where it happens. But in my space where I'm at, where I do, a lot of plant medicine, the veils between worlds and dimensions get very thin. So the idea of seeing other entities, seeing angelic type of beings and demonic type beings is very normal. And the idea that there's a demonic aspect to the UAP phenomenon, I think, is very plausible and interesting.
I do too. So you say plant-based medicine. I think you refer probably to a lot of different things, but among those would be, say, ayahuasca or psilocybin mushrooms. So the conventional understanding is that if you take a hallucinogen, you see hallucinations, things that your brain creates that don't exist outside of you. But you're suggesting that you can see things that are in effect real, but that you don't normally see. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, definitely. And I've done many times now, and I've had many incredible experiences. Finally feel comfortable talking about it. I wasn't maybe after the first 6 times I sat, and then I finally said, you know what? Like, this has made a huge impact on my life and made me feel more connected to this world and more loving and more in my heart. And even this last ceremony, group of ceremonies that I did, I think has really helped me with the last 4 years of my life, where I went from a pretty beloved, semi-enigma still, but pretty beloved athlete to a very polarizing figure. And it's helped me to kind of put that all in the right context and perspective, and actually have a ton of gratitude for the whole process, even though it was tough up and down, and more empathy and compassion for those who've slandered me and canceled me or attempted to. So it's been really important for me, and really deep healing for me.
Well, if you wind up with more compassion for your enemies, it's hard to criticize it, because I think that's where we need to be.
Well, they also couldn't criticize because the first time I did it, I won an MVP. And the second time I did it, I won MVP again. So everybody wanted to, put me in the druggy category. Oh, you're just some wild hippie druggy guy. It's like, yeah, but also I'm better at football probably afterwards, and a better leader, and better at relating to my teammates. So there's a lot of positives.
What does your teammates say? What do they say in general?
They're interested, very interested. So many people from all different sports. I'm talking basketball players, tennis players, golfers, baseball players, hockey players, and then my own contemporaries in the league are all interested about it. There's a base level of plant medicine use. For the most part, I would say it's marijuana. People have their own opinions about marijuana, but a lot of people are really interested about the healing effects they can have, and the deeper sense of self-love and deeper sense of connection. There's just so many myths about it and misnomers. I like to say, and kind of revised my view of that plant medicine, because people are like, oh, plant medicine, what is this shit, blah, blah, blah. Medicine is anything that is healing that's not addictive, and drugs are substances that are addictive, and there's a ton of drugs.
True.
And not all pharma is bad. There's some incredible pharmaceutical stuff that's helped us with things that I've used. Obviously, I've had many surgeries and had anesthesia, and I'm thankful for those types of drugs. But medicine and food as medicine has been really impactful for my life, and they're not addictive substances. They're stuff that I like to use with deep reverence in ceremony setting, and it's made a big impact on my life. And the people that know me have noticed the change. People that don't know me, have their shots and their opinions about me, but I do have more empathy and compassion for all those people, and for myself too. And I'm just trying to do my best. And I was fighting a lot of battles, when I tested positive for COVID and got canceled or attempted, and I don't feel like I need to fight as much of those. But what about you though? Because you did one of the most controversial, somehow, not to me, most controversial interviews in the last, I don't know how long, when you went to Russia and did Putin. How did
Joe Biden.
How did it feel coming back? Because anybody watching the interview was like, number one, it was fucking awesome. Number two, Putin came off as an
My dad might buy me Takis.
interesting, thoughtful, smart individual. And if you've read 1984, the base game plan of government control is you have to have an enemy and you have to slander that enemy regardless if you know anything about him. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, Putin apologists are like,
One second, chat. This is interesting.
Whitewashing all the stuff that he's done to different people. And I was just like, no, I'd love to see Joe Biden give an interview where he can speak on the history of the United States in the same way that Putin talked about the history of his country.
I'd love to see Biden do an interview where he shows how to operate a microwave, and I don't think that's going to happen. And by the way, Biden won't do interviews, and neither will Zelensky so far.
But what was it like to come back and you were like in a couple other places after that?
Yeah, I went to the Middle East after that for a while. I mean, I was out of the country for almost a month, so I missed. And I don't ever read about myself anyway because I know who I am. I don't need someone to tell me. So I missed all of that, as I always do. But the idea that someone would criticize an interview where you just let the guy talk for a couple hours. I mean, I just think that's inherently useful. I mean, I just wanted to do it as a documentary record of what Putin is like, or at least what he's like in this context, and people can decide for themselves. I'm a big believer in letting people decide for themselves. I think adult men have the right to come to their own conclusions about things. Adults have the right to. So I'll never stop believing that because we're not slaves. We can have any opinion we want. And if you don't like it, then try and change it through reason. And if you can't, then fuck you. And I really feel that way. So that's the kind of perspective I had going in to talk to Putin. My perceptions of him are exactly what you just said. I thought he was an interesting guy, smart guy, impressive guy. You know, in some ways, obviously a lot more impressive than Joe Biden. But he's Russian, and he runs Russia, and I'm American, and I live in America. So I care about my country. I want my leaders to be better. I'm not on Putin's side. I don't have any emotional attachment to any foreign country. Because I'm not a foreigner, I'm an American, and this is the only country I care about. But for the record, yeah, I thought people can watch it and assess for themselves.
And they should. It's a fascinating.
But the idea that you shouldn't be allowed to do that is so crazy to me. I'm just not going to submit to that.
Being canceled by the people who have just bowed down and given interviews from their knees to the Zelenskys of the world.
Gargling as they interview, yes.
It's wild. As this guy comes over and fucking an outfit you'd wear to the store on a Sunday morning to ask Congress for another $100 billion is fucking wild.
He looks like he's going to be in the Village People music video. I mean, it's like insane. The whole thing is like
insane.
You do sort of wonder, like that and a million other things going on right now. You wonder if they're sort of seeing how far they can push the population until someone starts laughing. Like, are you joking?
It feels like that sometimes. Like, what if we did this? Is anybody going to give a shit? No? Okay. Well, okay, now let's try this one here. We're going to put Joe Biden up and do this. Wait, what? This guy who can't even walk over here? Shits his pants every now and then?
Then we're going to pick the single dumbest but most self-confident person in the entire nation of 350 million people and make her White House press secretary. And you have to deal with this every day on your television. No, I know. I'm going to laugh.
But that's not, but the real question I had for you in relation to freedom of speech and free speech is two, I believe, champions of free speech who are now in exile.